The press conference at the University of North Carolina's auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Networks had dispatched reporters from across the country, and the live stream counter showed over 50,000 viewers already waiting online. Elena Vasquez adjusted her microphone nervously, the weight of their discoveries still settling on her shoulders. "We stand at a crossroads of American history," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "For 4 centuries, the disappearance of the Roanoke colonists has been framed as America's first mystery, a tale of failure, abandonment, and presumed tragedy. Today, we present evidence that fundamentally reframes this narrative." Behind her, screens displayed 3D renderings of their excavation site, DNA analysis charts, and high-resolution images of the artifacts they'd recovered. The sealed chamber's contents had proven even more significant than they'd initially realized. Not just the journal, but maps, records of births and marriages, and inventories that documented a thriving, blended community. "The Roanoke colonists didn't vanish," Elena continued. "They adapted and survived through cultural exchange and integration with indigenous communities. What Europeans perceived as disappearance was actually transformation." James Harrington stepped forward to elaborate on the historical context. Sir Walter Raleigh's political situation in England had become precarious. The Spanish threat was imminent. "We've uncovered evidence that the relocation was planned. A strategic disappearance with the colonists instructed to leave misleading clues for any who might search with hostile intent." Sarah Locklear spoke next, her voice carrying the weight of generations. "For the indigenous peoples involved, this wasn't conquest or surrender, but a complex negotiation of survival during a time of immense change. Our findings suggest that both groups recognize strength in alliance rather than conflict." 3 days later, as the team continued their work at the site, the story had exploded across academic circles and popular media alike. Hashtags about Roanoke trended globally. Documentary producers called hourly. Academic journals fast-tracked their preliminary papers. But not everyone welcomed the revelations. "You've received another one," Way said, handing Elena a letter with a Virginia postmark. She sighed, recognizing the stationery. The Colonial Heritage Foundation had been sending increasingly hostile correspondence since their announcement. This particular historian had built his career on a theory of colonial martyrdom, the idea that the Roanoke settlers had died defending English civilization against savage wilderness. "Our findings threaten more than historical narratives," she reminded the team as they gathered for their morning briefing. "They challenge founding myths about American identity." Henry Dare, who had continued volunteering at the site, nodded in understanding. "People prefer tragedy to complexity. Heroes and villains make better stories than humans making difficult choices." "Speaking of choices," James interjected, "the carbon dating results came back on the settlement's outer palisade. It was constructed in phases, beginning with traditional English defensive architecture, but gradually incorporating indigenous building techniques that were better suited to local conditions. Adaptation over time," Elena mused. "Not immediate assimilation, but gradual integration." The breakthrough came unexpectedly during dinner at their camp. Amelia Wingate, the linguistic specialist who had been analyzing the journal entries, burst into the mess tent, clutching her tablet. "I've deciphered the code," she exclaimed. Several passages in the journal were written in a substitution cipher, likely to hide information from anyone who might find the records who weren't part of their community. The team gathered around as she displayed the translated text. "Our children bear the future of 2 worlds. Neither England nor Croton claims them wholly, but something new emerges. We have sent 12 trusted men northward with sealed records for safekeeping, should our settlement here be discovered. Another 20 families have moved inland beyond the Wepemiak territories. We disperse not in defeat but in strategy. Many seeds rather than a single crop. Multiple settlements," Way breathed. "Not one destination but several." Elena's mind raced with the implications. This matches the scattered archaeological evidence we've been dismissing for decades. European artifacts appearing across the region during this time period. "And the DNA patterns," added James. "Dispersed genetic signatures rather than concentrated in one community." Sarah studied the map they'd been building. This would explain the oral histories from multiple tribes, each containing elements of truth about the colonists, but no single group possessing the complete story. The following week brought government officials to inspect their findings. The National Park Service was already discussing expanded interpretive programming at the Fort Raleigh Historic Site on Roanoke Island. Museums across the eastern seaboard requested items for special exhibitions. As Elena led the delegation through the excavation, she paused at the foundations of what appeared to be a meeting house, a structure that showed clear influence from both European and indigenous architectural traditions. What we're uncovering here isn't just an archaeological site, she explained. It's evidence of a different origin story for America, one that began not with conquest but with adaptation, not with displacement but with integration. The senior advisor from the Department of the Interior nodded thoughtfully. Dr. Vasquez, your team's discoveries will require us to reconsider significant aspects of early colonial history. The educational implications alone are enormous. History isn't static, Elena replied. Each generation asks new questions of the past, illuminating aspects previously obscured. That evening, as fireflies emerged over the excavation site, Elena sat with Sarah and Henry Dare, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant orange and purple. The day's work had uncovered a child's toy, a small carved boat that combined European hull design with indigenous decorative elements. My daughter asked me something profound this morning, Sarah said, breaking the comfortable silence. She wanted to know if we should still call them the Lost Colony, now that we found them. Elena smiled. Perhaps not lost, but transformed. Or perhaps, Henry suggested, his weathered hands cradling a mug of coffee, we're the ones who were lost, unable to see what was before us because we were looking for what we expected rather than what was. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees that had witnessed the colonists' arrival for centuries earlier. Somewhere beneath the soil they sat upon lay the foundations of a community that had refused both the narrative of conquest and the narrative of failure. Instead, they had chosen a third path, one of adaptation, resilience, and transformation. Tomorrow we begin excavating the workshop area, Elena noted, reviewing their site map. Based on the magnetometer readings, we should find evidence of metallurgical work combining European techniques with local materials. Always searching for something new in something old, Sarah observed. As stars appeared in the deepening twilight, Elena contemplated the journal entries they translated that morning. Words written by a colonist who had stepped beyond the boundaries of their time. We came seeking a new world, yet found ourselves made new instead. Perhaps that is the true discovery, not claiming this land, but allowing it to claim us. The mystery of Roanoke had never truly been about disappearance, Elena realized. It had been about transformation so profound that those who remained within old paradigms could not recognize it. The colonists hadn't vanished. They had evolved beyond the confines of colonial identity into something unprecedented, becoming the first chapter of a different American story, one still being written. As night fell completely, the excavation lights illuminated their work, a bright island in the darkness, much like the colony itself had been, not lost but simply waiting to be understood on its own terms.